all options to protect the Family Resource Center. One of those options would be speaking to them, looking for an alternative site if we couldn't work anything out with the new owners. But I think what Mr. Pizzullo was accusing you of was going to some of the other tenants and trying to facilitate relocating. So that's not.
No, I'm not. Other than Janice Gotcher, and that was just more as the overall scheme of how things were working out here.
Okay.
Well, and I don't know that I proposed that. I just said, hey, you guys, how much space do you occupy in here and use, versus what that other space was.
Thank you.
I believe Ms. Bowler.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Melanie?
We were talking about we needed a plan B, and Janice emailed me, I was out of town in Sacramento, and let me know that she had talked to the school district was willing to rent us that building behind the One Stop for about $500 a month, and that's how the discussions got started.
Thank you, Melanie. Did I answer your question?
I guess so. Now, the other part is, since we know those rent figures were to get somebody's attention to talk to me, and it didn't seem to work, is the county interested in renting that building, or are we dealing with just the one-stop nonprofit, and you are going somewhere else?
We haven't made a decision.
We have.
I would like to say that, look, what happened happened. Like I said, it's how you react to a mistake that defines your character. So it's in our best interest to become friends with the new owner. And we need to do what's best for the community, not if we have an issue with
I was best for the
Pizzullo.
not what's best for us, but
We are willing, we've been hearing figures that the airport is worth $0. We're willing to do a trade there. We're very serious at trading in that area too, with no cost to the
I don't
county.
know.
So if you were interested in any of this stuff, you gotta let us know before we go on to our next steps.
Okay, Mr. Tim, did you have a comment that would help on this conversation?
Please, Tim Holibert. I'm a trustee of the Fort Sage Unified School District, and I'd like to clarify the situation of the potential rental of our Head Start building. Several things really disturb me. It's come back to me that the county council has made the statement that they've rented the building from the school and that they're moving in on the 4th of December. The county has not rented our building. The statement has also come back to me that the school district is going to trade that for the theater. The school district's not in a position to trade that. That building is held in trust by the federal government for the use of the Fort Sage School District. Now, we would entertain potential renting of the Head Start building, but we have to give priority to the Lassen County Board of Education that's trying to restart and fund a new Head Start program. We'd have to give priority to that first. And secondly, it has to go before our board. You'd have to make a proposal to our board. And our next board meeting is the 3rd Wednesday of December. And the board would decide if, in fact, we would rent the building. We told county personnel that we would consider rent in the vicinity of $500 a month because it would occupy the building if they also would have to pay the utilities. However, you need to keep in mind, it's probably going to cost you $10,000 to $20,000 to refit the building to fit your needs. It's all designed for little bitty kids. So everything's done accordingly. So it's a possibility, but it would need a lot of work before it could be done. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tim.
I have a question for Mr.
Wait a minute, I think, Greta, you want to respond to that?
I never said that we rented it. I don't know where that comment's coming from. I think Ms. Brawley can also, she's been involved with all the negotiations. We were just looking when we saw I don't know Mr. Pizzullo, all I know is that we were told $3,000 a month, $10,000 a month, or $20,000 a month, and we immediately went into action to find alternative solutions so that the One Stop would have a continuous service. And that's all we were looking for, was continuous service. I've made no statements at all about that we already have a rent on December 4th. I know we have a meeting on December 4th, so I just want you all to know I've made that representation to no one.
Thank you.
Now, after I talked to Red, I called Mr. Hallberg, and you said you would like to move by the 4th of December.
I said we're having a meeting December
Well,
4th.
maybe I misunderstood you. So I immediately called Mr. Hallberg, and he said that it hadn't gone before his board yet.
Correct.
He told me that. Now, I also understand that HPUD had already been in negotiations with that building. So, I mean, now we're in second place on this, we don't know where we stand. So, like Larry, I would like to, at least for now, make sure that we keep our one-stop open and work with Mr. Pizzullo, as long as he's reasonable, and I'm sure he will be. So,
Okay, Jim,
Well, two things. First of all,
I'll get you in the back in a minute. Thank you.
has the theater building, thanks Kim for bringing that up, has the theater building been transferred to the school district yet? I know that's the intent we've had.
The functional use of the building being transferred to, we couldn't transfer the title because of the restrictions on the money that was used to rehab it.
Well, then, if that's the case and we own that, is it possible for us to reclaim functional use of the building and utilize that to house the county-based programs? Because to me, it makes no sense to sell a building and then turn around and rent it. I mean, if we're planning on using it, why would we sell the building and then rent it from you or whoever would obtain it? And in that case, at least we still have that building, we haven't given that away by mistake. Is it possibly that could be utilized? I mean, it's designed to be a theater, but at least it gives you a roof over your head. It's a brand-new roof that we spent $50,000 on from that grant money.
We could explore that option.
I mean, to me, I haven't heard that brought up, you know, and push comes to shove, and we, you know, everybody's at a standoff, at least we have that.
Okay, Mr. Halliburton, you got something to add to this?
If I could address that, Jim, the county has presented to the school district an MOU for the use of the building. I believe, and Pete can clarify this, I believe it's for a lease of 4 years, is that correct?
5 years.
5 years?
Lifetime of it.
Due to the fact that you obtained a grant for the roof. We've tweaked the MOU, our council has tweaked it, we've sent it back to the county. We expect that we should have it back, or should have had it back, maybe it's sitting on someone's desk. But there's another problem there, Jim. There's land that goes with that faces up to the main entrance there into the base. It's become a safety hazard, there's trees that are dead, limbs are falling down. We would hope that the school can either get that and get control of that property so we can clean it up, because obviously the county won't. They never have in 10 years. Why would they now? But it's become a safety hazard and a fire issue. And as far as the building you sold, we went through it on behalf of Mr. Pizzullo. I helped put a crew together to maintain that property and start cleaning it up in Erlong. We went through the resource building. We gave the name of a handyman who's a very good carpenter and his phone number to the resource folks. If they have a problem, they can fix it. We found the utility room open, unlocked with the door open. It's an outside entrance. Anybody could go in there and steal things. We also found they had no lights outside and they have a lot of night activity there. So they have some immediate needs. There's also trees growing over the roof, as is in the other building where the post office is, which totally destroyed the roofs. There's one instance there in front of where the fire department now rents the office on the post office building, where 1 hour of deferred maintenance spread over 3 or 4 years, so 15 to 20 minutes a year, would have saved about a $7,000 repair that Mr. Pizzullo's been stuck with. Just total lack of anything. I would encourage the county to work with Steve Pizzullo. Let's keep the resource center open. He'll work with them. He'll probably keep their thrift shop open. We're having a hard time trimming the trees. There's so much activity into the thrift shop. We can't do it. We have to do it on the weekends. So, you know, we need to sit down and be human here and get it going. And I hope that answers your question on the theater.
Okay, let Mr. Johnson have the comment, and then we'll move back to you, Larry.
I feel that any future land trades, if we're talking about the Herlong Airport that is basically on Sierra Army Depot, would further defraud me in this sale. And I would like to know who requested the extension past October 1st. That if the county was not able to make their deadline in a competent manner, that should have been a warning flag, boom, right there, that the terms of sale had to be altered due to county's for lack of another word, incompetence? And I would like an answer to that question as to who actually requested the extension of the sale.
I don't know.
Because the terms of sale said till September 30th, and it was closed October 1st. It goes to the next bidder, and I'm hearing these dates of nothing was ready until the 4th, 5th, and what have you. It was the county's responsibility to have that stuff ready to close by the 30th.
Brad or Marty, you want to try to answer that?
Well, in the RFP, the language states that if it didn't close by the end of September 30th, I don't have it in front of me, the board reserves the right, and you had options. There was no language that it automatically went to another bidder. You reserved the right. You may take action. That's all the language states. There was no automatic entitlement to anyone else.
Thank you.
Was the county ready to close on the 30th, or was Mr. Pizzoli not ready?
That I don't know.
Because the continuing on money going into Hurlong, like Larry said, was no longer acceptable. Well, it went on for another 30 days because of that, which cost every man and woman in this room and county taxpayer. And that affected the bid price of the winning bidder due to funds expended by the county to pursue that bidder.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I think like I said previously, I think unfortunately, there's no unwind in this wash. Errors were made. I think I gave a pretty good explanation and timeline, but we're gonna be judged by how we react to this. And the way I would propose we react is as follows. I think the board needs to nominate somebody to negotiate. Our main focus needs to be to preserve the one-stop uninterrupted. We could look at other options, sure, you know, retrofitting the school or totally revamping the theater or whatever. Each of those things is gonna have a cost associated with it. And in that, we should also look at negotiating and seeing if we stay put. Now, there is one of the actions we did take as a board was to remove the expenses of the one-stop out of our general fund, and it's being paid for from the health and social services budget. So there is a funding stream available to support that facility. Our goal should be to enter into a, short to medium-term arrangement that protects the use for the community, provided it's a good match to that funding stream that's already in place for that building. And that, I feel, is the most responsible way. We see if we could achieve that. And at the same time, we look at the other things. But I remember 3 years ago, I was in the theater, and I think, it would be great if we did own another building that they could move right into, but I think realistically, we do have to look at it, otherwise we'd be neglecting our responsibilities if we didn't. But there's things to look at, the cost, the MOU we're already involved in with the school, but let's look at it, and let's look at the school, and let's look at staying where we are. And I think that needs to be fast-tracked, those negotiations, and I would throw out there that we appoint Richard Egan to deal with the buyers and see what they can come up with and bring us back options, even if we have to have a special meeting. I know we don't meet again until the 10th of December, but I think the insurance issues have been handled at least today, and I think Mr. Pizzullo is going to, allow it. But as a new owner of a building with the expenses, we need to fast track this, and we need to try and come up with a solution.
And I would appoint Mr. Hammond to be on that committee too, since it is in the district.
Absolutely.
So, Steve,
Yeah, I want to thank, I've really seen progress in this board, and I want to thank you. And so it doesn't make me feel so bad going back to the office. But, and I guess I have a $5,400 light bill to pay because they put new lights in the one stop. And I guess I can see paying it because you're kinda gonna work with us. Also, like, there's rents that come in every month, and if they go in the county treasury, it would be really nice if you gave them to us, because they are ours from October 31st forward. So we haven't received any rents, and we're gonna bill for $5,400 in writing.
All right, well, we're gonna have a committee, Mr. Hammond's gonna head that committee, and, work with Steve and, Mr. Egan, and, probably Peter, Marty, Greta, whoever needs to be there, okay? Tom, are you?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, I got some hands out here. I'll let Spencer, you've been up the longest.
Does that require a motion?
We'll do that just a second. Hang on.
Yeah.
And we'll get there.
I've spent the better half of a week and a half, I spent a week and a half, excuse me, trying to find from a lot of county officials what the revenue stream was for the last fiscal year. Only because this fiscal year is not finished. I ran into a brick wall. Nobody wants to give me the revenue that the Herlong property has brought in, nor do they want to release information on the expenses for the Herlong property, primarily the B2. We've asked specifically for the B2 property. So that is of great concern. The county spent $100,000 to put a new roof on this one-stop building. The other expenses over the years have been significant, so I don't blame you for wanting to get rid of it, but obviously I think everybody in this room and you agree that it was handled very poorly. I just want to point out a couple of facts, that on March 19th of this year, you gave Mr. Nichols an unbudgeted $10,000 raise. Oh, that's for Bob. I mean, he doesn't want it. And then on March 28th, the bids were received, Mr. Wasik and Mr. Dow's bids were received for the first RFP. And the county took out on March 31st of this year, they have a $25 million policy, insurance policy on that one building. Now, if my math is right, you sold everything for $31,900. That comes to 1.95 acres of the $25 million building. It comes to, Mr. Pizzullo got it for $173.55. Pretty damn good deal. But I'd like to know who, or if you all agree that that's a $25 million building to be insured. The policy alone is $23,000 a year. So I need some explanations about the $25 million.
Okay, thank you. Larry, you want to answer that?
Yeah, Eileen, when we started having discussions about the LRA and the curve that negative cash flow, insurance valuations of those buildings was something that, I brought up and the whole board discussed. And as, I don't, as silly as it may seem, or what have you, I went through the Trindle book. I did find those same. I think you're mistaken on the value, but it was exceptionally high.
He has the insurance policy.
Okay. So the insurer goes and they tour all of the county buildings throughout the county. So they have a formula, if you will, they use. So you can't. Our policy doesn't allow us to randomly pick and pool and lower this one and omit that one.
25 million is for all county.
No, that's for one building. Please read the insurance policy. It's for one building.
We could have another, later, but I did,
Actually has the book.
Richard, you want to address that?
but as far as but as
The
far
address
as
is on
far
there,
as
Larry.
pulling specific buildings out of the policy and changing the levels of insurance, it's not allowed. But, thank you, Richard, if you could speak to that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. As the board knows, and most of the public, the county's self-insured to certain levels with regard to property, and then we participate in a joint powers authority called CSAC Excess Insurance Authority with most of the other counties in California, a lot of cities and special districts. As Mr. Wasik suggested, we don't get to set each limit of property with those policies because they cover so many counties and so many properties. So how we establish the premiums is that periodically the CSAC Excess Insurance Authority will conduct replacement cost appraisals of all the county facilities, and that's what the premium's based on. It's true that each building is insured up to its replacement value up to $25 million. But the premium is actually based on what they estimate the replacement cost to be. Hopefully that makes sense. Most of the buildings, for example, the jail that we just tore down last year, I think had a replacement value of about $2 million on it. And the replacement value often has very little or nothing to do with the market value of the property, mainly due to just the single-purpose nature of most of our facilities. Airports, animal shelters, jails, they don't have a real easy to determine market value, so the values typically are very high.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Thank you. Ms. Johnson, we have a few more questions here, and the board's got to make a decision. And I'll get you two.
I never got an answer as to why the sale was extended past the 30th. I got the legalese that you guys can do whatever you want, and you got enough legalese jargon in your contract to make sure of that. Why was it extended? Was the county not ready, or was Mr. Pizzulo not ready? You set the date.
Marty, do you have an answer to that? I'm not exactly sure where you're going with it. Does anybody
Yeah,
have an
Richard
answer?
can talk a little about the sequence of events here.
My recollection is the contract was not
Process being drafted.
ready, and there was a hearing that the planning commission, I believe, had to conduct that required certain noticing timeframes. I think that's why it was delayed. That's my recollection.
I'm just not familiar with planning commission being involved before the sale closes. Usually the owner goes to the planning commission after he buys.
Perhaps Mr. Anderson can address that. I'm not technically aware of why we had to do that.
The planning commission had to make a general plan consistency finding, 65402 of the government code. Any disposal of property has to go through the planning commission. And so that was one reason. Also, we had filed a notice of exemption pursuant to CEQA. And I'm not exactly sure on the closing dates, but those were two things that had to happen before the actual disposal could happen. So.
Then why did the county request such a quick closing date if they had all these hoops to jump through and hurdles to jump over, and it could not be done in the time that they set forth?
Can't speak to that, but that's the explanation on 65402 and the CEQA said.
That's the best explanation I'm going to get, I think.
Thank you.
I can't give anything else. Felix, you're next, and we're going to...
I have a question. Mr. Johnson went into the resource center and wanted to tour the building because he mentioned he was going to buy it. And I talked to Janice about it, and I said, no, it's not for sale. I told Steve it wasn't for sale, and I told her it's not for sale. She called, and this is what we have to find out. She called her chain of command and notified that the building's for sale. My understanding is her people, and Melanie, I was going to ask you this question, called the county before it closed and told them that this building was for sale. That's the question I'd like to get answered. If she did call the county, okay, and they assured her that no, the building isn't for sale, and that's before it closed, before it even went into escrow. If that happened, somebody has to take responsibility. My suggestion, since this is a confusion, everybody's asking the question, you need to, under disciplinary action, it's private. You need to interview each and every person that was involved in this and get these answers so you guys can make a logical decision on whatever you have to do. You need to interview each and every person and get answers from each and every person. did you call? That's the question.
Yes.
Who did you call?
Wait a minute, Melanie, you got that up right now.
Oh, I guess I could have done that.
Yes, Janice called me after the first RFP came out, and I let planning know. In fact, there was a list of people that I let know. And when the second RFP came out, I was notified again, and I'm sorry, I don't remember whether it was Janice or whether it was someone from one of the other organizations, one of the other departments that let me know, but I was assured it would be removed before it went to sale, and that they were going to let the bidders know that it wouldn't be for sale.
Wait a minute. I have Eric first. Oh. Then we're going to do it.
My question is for you, Mr. Pizzolo. Mr. Johnson, he stated that he was notified by phone call or in person that the One Stop was not for sale. Were you ever notified by phone call or in person by anybody that the One Stop was not part of the sale?
Yeah, I've already said that to Felix. Felix notified me it wasn't for sale, but he doesn't work for the county.
No, I asked if anybody from the county.
I can't recall, but if I was, it was never put in writing. The real estate contracts are in writing. So he must know much about real estate contracts, I'm certain.
No, I asked if he was notified prior.
I said if I was, I can't tell you
Okay.
whether I was or not. But you, as you know, a real estate contract has to be in writing. Verbal doesn't cut it. So whether I was or not, it's immaterial.
Yeah, I just wanted, just to follow up on Felix's question, I mean, it has been well documented, and Supervisor Chapman also brought that up. There was a lot of people aware of it, but it was kept a secret from this board. It's unbelievable. I mean, first it's unbelievable, the chain of events, that from our resolution passed on April 24th, 2012 to now. And the fact that these, I asked that question previously about when was this error discovered, and I got the date of July, as it was discovered by Melody's staff. The mistake was relayed to the CAO's office, and it was kept a secret. It was kept from us. We had no idea. So that's the answer. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's even more unbelievable, those who knew, had the opportunity to remove it from those final documents and didn't do that. I mean,
like I said, it's embarrassing to be associated with
It's
this.
very embarrassing. Okay, I got a couple more questions, and the board is going to do something here. Alan, I think you're next.
Alan Schumacher. I really believe that all of you have a lot of remorse, and I think that you should, seeing how we, the people, as I recall reminding you, are your boss. Now, the people that work for you are sitting over here with smirks on their faces. So I would like to see something handled on that, just like Steve said. They work for you, and you work for us. Maybe people from the county would be better served than people that don't live in the county.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Felix and Steve, we got to move on. Felix, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up real quick on the theater. Everybody said, well, possibly you could move into the theater. I'd like to bring a couple things up real quick since I've been so involved with the theater. One, you have no heating. That's why you had a problem. It's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to get it squared away. During the winter, it floods. If you look at the handicaps going through the side doors, it all goes into the theater. Okay? That was supposed to be fixed. The heating was supposed to be fixed, never got done. The other big problem you have a water leak. Okay? I suggest you talk to your person who's in charge of that building and ask him what it's costing you to maintain that building, even though there's nobody in there. You guys have a bill on it. So, I mean, it's right away to say we could do this, we do this. You need to find out what resources you have in Hurlong. Because some of the things that you guys are mentioning is going to cost you more than you can imagine.
Thank you, Craig. All right, we have a committee headed by Mr. Hammond. It's going to negotiate with Mr. Cazillo. Do I understand that correct? We need a motion or anything, Larry?
I move that we form a committee headed by Supervisor Hammond, and to include Richard Egan.
Mr. Egan, right.
And Pete,
council, CAO,
and,
Sheila,
I don't think the CIA can be included.
well,
I mean, you're telling council that it can work with me.
I would agree. I think that the CAO.
I think you need to keep
is gonna do that.
keep it to 2 or 3.
So Supervisor Hammond, Richard Egan, Pete, and I believe that's pretty much all we need.
I'll second.